The October 16th, 2024 Planning Board meeting is called to order. This is to advise that the notice of the time, date, location, and to the extent known, agenda of subject meeting was prominently posted in the public place reserved for such or similar announcements on October 7th and transmitted to the Times, the Princeton Packet, and the West Windsor and Plainsboro News on October 7th, 2024, and filed with the Township Clerk on October 7th, 2024. Sydney, please call the roll.
Mr. Patel, Mr. Lavero,
Here.
Mr. Schachtel,
Here.
Mr. Pancove, Mr. Begg, Miss Bari, Miss Applegate, Councilman Whitfield,
Here.
Mayor Maratag,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Hoberman,
Here.
Chairman Carp,
Here,
and Mr. Begg is on his way in.
Mr. Begg, we'll announce him when he gets in. We have a quorum. Thank you. We have a pretty packed agenda, so there's a lot of things on it, so we're gonna get moving along. First thing is, anybody from the public wish to speak on a non-agenda, non-pending item, please step up to the microphone, state your name and address for the record. Seeing none. Okay, thank you.
Comments, just general comments, Michael?
Sure.
Okay, at the Wawa ribbon cutting, Michael and I were both there, and we ran into Kristen Applegate, who I've had this question in my mind, is there ever going to be a ribbon cutting or grand opening for the Lakeside campus of Princeton University, an application that we did many meetings on about, and in fact, Lakeside's coming to us in a couple of weeks beyond this at the next meeting. She said there's going to be a spring 2025 event that we're going to get invited to. And the mayor will keep us posted on that.
Okay, thank you. I just want to notice that Mr. Begg is now present. Thank you. And hi. Do you have a environmental commission?
No, I did not. I could have been last week meeting. I was out of town.
Okay, no problem. Thank you. For affordable housing, Joytica can't be here, but she submitted a document that I'll read into the record. Basically, this is from Thursday, October 3rd, affordable housing meeting. The Hamlet's residents accompanying Mr. Sori, the resident representative member, to the meeting. They were grateful to the township for support thus far and put forth a request for township action on outstanding issues related to mold, et cetera, in some of the units. The Affordable Housing Committee is hopeful for information from the administration on the Affordable Housing Trust Funds to understand the support that can be provided to the hamlet. Allison Miller and Jen Ping Wang attended an event, and their takeaway was that it would be prudent for the town to take some preemptive action on creating an affordable housing plan for the next round of affordable housing. Before a number was thrust upon us, it appears that the state might be encouraging 100% affordable housing via a tax credit scheme. This might require more investigation, and maybe West Windsor ought to look into the possibility of an all affordable development. Dated October 15, 2024. Jerry, you have any comments on that?
Yeah.
Push the red button.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
The fourth line, it's going to be.
Oh, down. Okay. Okay, some things are very technical, sophisticated. In the fourth round, the whole affordable housing set of regulations are going to be very different in terms of the process, in terms of the standards, and it probably is worthwhile. And we're going to be getting into it very deeply very soon because of the time frame. And it might be worthwhile having a session which is devoted at least in part to briefing, particularly by Nate, Dave, and by me as well, and Sam. It starts to educate the board on what this is all about. But it's and the public. Thank you, Curtis. That's right. But it is entirely different than what we've had in the third round. So I just wanted to mention that. Yeah.
Might be asking why they think Sunday.
Why did they pick Sunday?
And those are, those are numbers that are going to be issued by DCA. And we'll have a chance to respond to that, et cetera. And I know David's been working on it.
Thank you. Okay, moving right along. Minutes for September 4th. Does anybody have comments, suggestions, changes? Please state your changes. Anybody who's no changes?
I
Okay.
move for the approval of the September 4th minutes.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, Alan, you were absent.
Abstain.
You abstain. Okay. You got that, Cindy?
Yes.
Thank you. Meeting minutes from September 4th are approved. Okay, next up on the agenda, resolution PB 24-01, Woodmont Commercial West LLC preliminary final major site plan phases 1 and 2 with variance relief and waivers, 1 Meadow Road. Jerry, you want to enumerate, please?
Yeah, just briefly, it's what the agenda says, Woodmont Commercial, it's actually Woodstone Commercial.
Thank you.
And this is a development which was approved by the board, which consists of 2 phases. The first is basically a learning center, a childcare center called the Malvern School, which is apparently it has more than one facility. And the second would be an office bed. That's phase 1. It's 5,657 square feet. And then phase 2, which would come later, would be office, although that could also be medical. Although the proposal originally was simply for office for that space, which would be 9,136 square feet. During the hearing, as you might recall, they said they might do medical instead. If they do medical instead, there's going to have to be further, they're going to have to come back with further traffic information, because the traffic impacts would be very different for commercial, for medical as opposed to office. And that, I think, would have to come back before the board, or at least come to the staff. And basically that's what this is all about. There's C variances, and they are laid out on page, well, it's paragraph 26A, which it does not permit the ordinance does not permit an outdoor play area in the front yard. And the way this is shaped, there are 3 front yards, so the play area would have to be in one of the front yards. In fact, it's behind the building, but it's treated as a front yard. And that's the only variance necessary. There were a number of waivers. Francis, you want to jump in or any?
Anything to add, Francis? No?
No, okay.
I'll entertain a motion to approve resolution PB 24-01, Woodstone Commercial, West Windsor. Moved by Annis, second by the mayor. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Could I-
Resolution, yeah,
If I could ask Sam a quick question. Sam, in paragraph 3 of the resolution, which I was not here for that, they talk about the Woodmont multifamily development. Is it Woodmont or is that Woodstone also? I thought it was Woodstone also. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so in the resolution, we'll change a paragraph 3, Woodmont at the beginning to Woodstone. Thank you.
I already signed the resolution in the folder.
That's fine.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, resolution PB 24-07, Square at West Windsor Pet Hospital, conditional use approval, 3512 US Route 1, Block 8, Lot 10.03. Gary, just quick summary.
Yeah, we handled this quite recently. This is an empty space at the Square at West Windsor Shopping Center. It's in a back building. And they're going to put this pet hospital, I was going to say sophisticated pet hospital,
Emergency care.
emergency care,
Next to the Starbucks.
next to the Starbucks. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
It needed conditional use approval. It got the conditional use approval.
Okay, thank you. I'll entertain a motion to approve PB 24-07 Square West Windsor Pet Hospital. Anybody? So moved. Moved by the mayor, second. Second, anybody? Second, I'll second. Okay. Call the roll on the four eligible, please.
Mr. Libero,
Yeah, you did. You were there.
Pet Hospital, emergency care, next to Starbucks.
You were there, Rob.
Yeah, I was there.
You're into pets, you like dogs?
Yeah, maybe. And in fact, I remember now, I told him that I was more concerned about the pets dealing with Starbucks smells and not Starbucks.
Correct. He was there.
As long as you don't eat the cats and the dogs, we do.
Councilman Whitfield,
Yes.
Mayor Marate,
Yes.
Chairman Carp.
Yes, thank you. Resolutions adopted, thank you. Okay, moving right along. Next up, application PB 19-13 amended senior living at Bear Creek. Request for a one-year extension of amended final major site plan, block 33, lot 1.02. Property is zoned PRRC MLUL and A. Anybody want to step up?
Proof of,
Yes.
You're on.
proof of, oh, yeah, no proof of service is necessary here, yeah.
Anthony Mizuka, Black Point Group.
Yeah, I will. Anthony, I'm going to swear you in. If you could raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
Yeah.
So sworn or affirmed.
Yes, this is we've been before the board and gotten this approved. We've had some delays, a lot of it due to financial issues of high interest rates and some changes in the way people are looking at the whole issue of senior housing and how amendments and so forth. And it's taken a little time to figure out exactly what's going on. And we think we're on the right track now. We have getting our financing in place, and hopefully this will be the last year that we have to deal with this. We won't need another extension. We'll get this started construction. This has been, I started this project 31 years ago, something like that. Yeah. Huh? For this project, the original plan, we started with all this stuff right in 1996 or something like that. So
You had just graduated.
I was
You were just graduated from junior high school, I think.
right. I had short pants. It was really very good, and I had a little more hair. So we asked your approval to give us the time necessary to get this done, and we're eager to get it started. We're already started working on some of the old bond work that but just met with a contractor the day before yesterday, so we're gearing up so that in the spring we'll start all of that work, remedial work, and be finished.
And what is being sought here is a one-year extension of the approval through August 26, 2025.
So Jerry, I have a question about that. Since it's now yet a month and a half since August 26, 2024, can the board's action tonight start the clock of 1 year tonight?
Yes, and yeah, in fact, you would not expect that would be the case, but it is the case.
So it would not be August 26, 2025, it would be October
Right.
16th, 2025.
Yeah.
Is that correct, Jerry?
Yes.
Are you okay with that?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
just want to make sure. Okay. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the 1-year extensions with the clock starting at tonight's date. To have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Second by Curtis. Please call the roll on this, Sydney.
Mr. Rivera, Mr. Chiquetel,
Yes.
Mr. Begg,
Yes.
Councilman Whitfield,
Yes.
Mayor Marate,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Hoberman.
Yes.
Chairman Carp.
Yes, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay. Next up, PB 24-10, Chick-fil-A, West Windsor preliminary final major site plan, bulk variance and sign waivers. Block 7, lot 59.02, 3499 US Route 1, property zone B-2 district, MLUL is 101624.
Good evening,
Good evening.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Duncan Prime from the firm of Prime, Tubell and Maselli. On behalf of the applicant Chick-fil-A with reference to our application here this evening. The property which is the subject of this application is the same property in which we were here in March for. It is, for purpose of the record, located at 3499 US Route 1, at the intersection of Emmons Drive. That is also known as Block 7. Lot 59.02 on the township tax map. Before I turn it over to my professional staff, I want to go through the narrative, the history here, what's transpired since you last saw us in March and you approved this substantially similar plan for preliminary and final approval. So back in 2020, as I went over with you in March, this overall site received minor subdivision approval along with use variance and preliminary and final major site plan approval from the township zoning. The front portion of the site, now lot 59.01, was approved to be developed with a 85 square foot Wawa convenience store and fueling station. As I think the board is aware, that Wawa fueling station is constructed and now open. The remaining portion of the site, now lot 59.02, was originally approved back then to be a hotel. But we came before you in March with a different application. As I referenced earlier, we were approved for a Chick-fil-A quick service restaurant with drive-through on that portion of the property. As is the case with a lot of properties that share multiple uses, share the same property and use shared portions of the property for common use. There is a reciprocal easement agreement on this site, REA, sometimes referred to as. As part of that agreement, each party has the right to review and approve any change from the original plan on the REA that can pertain to parking, access, drives, driveway use restrictions, all sorts of things. Following our approval back in March, we received a letter dated April 30th that Wawa had sent us. I believe they copied the board as well. They voiced their objection to our approved site plans, specifically the way it was laid out in our access drive, as was their legal right to do. Since receipt of that letter, for the past several months, we took the time to work with our team, with Wawa, your board professional staff to come up with an alternative plan, a revised plan that we feel Wawa satisfies the Wawa concern, but more importantly for us, also continues to work for the Chick-fil-A operation. So that's what brings us here tonight. We've got an application for preliminary and final major site plan, just like we had in March. The difference is the plan, the orientation is different. I'd like to go over that with my civil engineer who has an exhibit to show you what you approved in March and then also what's proposed right now. So with that, go ahead, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah,
If you
I
have
was just
questions.
going to ask a couple
Sure.
things.
Absolutely.
Can you ask your professionals to focus on what the changes will be more than what we approved?
I'm actually out ahead of you on that. We had substantial testimony last time on Chick-fil-A operation. I think Mr. Martinez did a great job describing the history of the company.
Right.
All the operational stuff. None of that's going to change with this.
Okay.
I'm going to skip that testimony unless the board would like to ask Mr. Martinez a question. He's here. In fact, I'd like to jump right to my civil engineer who has an exhibit that shows what is actually
Okay,
changed. What you-
the second thing
Sure.
is, has Wawa looked at your plan or what you're presenting and have they approved what your changes will be?
They have.
Okay, thank you.
Well,
Yeah, maybe all one.
Yeah, let's,
Yeah, could we swear all your,
put them all at once?
yeah,
Yep.
please.
Okay.
If you could each raise your right hand, do you swear or affirm that testimony you're about to give will be the truth? So sworn or affirmed, if you could state your full name and spell your last name, starting with this gentleman to my left.
I do. My name is Tyler Lucas, Lucas.
Thank you.
Patrick Downey, Downey.
Daniel Block.
Thank you.
Tyler, you were just sworn while we're setting up here. Let's get you qualified. So let's provide the board with a brief description of your educational background. Go to school.
I went to the New Jersey Institute of Technology. I graduated with a bachelor's in civil engineering. That was back in 2019. And I also received my master's from New Jersey Institute of Technology this year.
You're a licensed civil engineer with a license of good standing.
Yes.
You oversaw the preparation of this plan.
Yes.
How many Chick-fil-A's have you done similar to this since you've been working?
From start to finish, at least 4 that are constructed. And beyond that, probably more than 10, probably 15 or 20 that I've helped in different aspects of the design.
Qualifications from our engineer. I'm
Nope.
happy about it.
No, he's good.
Tyler, in my opening, I provided the board with a background of why we're here, why we're back here, excuse me. Mr. Chairman just asked for a exhibit that shows what was approved in March and what we're showing now. Let's jump into that. I think that's what you're showing on the screen, is that correct?
Yes. So
Is this labeled as exhibit A1?
Yep, A1.
It's prepared by your office, Tyler?
yes, and it is titled Site Plan Comparison Exhibit, dated 10/16/24, which is today's date. All right, so it sounds like the board is very familiar with the property. As Duncan had introduced, it is located on Block 7, Lot 59.02. So this is just to the rear of the Wawa development, which had just opened. If you look at the left plan, that would be the legacy plan that was approved by this board in March. You can see that the building location has changed significantly. Whereas before it was pressed against the south property boundary, it has now moved up closer to the side of Emmons Drive. We feel that this layout is somewhat superior in the sense that if you were to look at the ingress and egress between the legacy plan and the current plan, those two plans, the legacy plan has more of a weaving maneuver to get to the drive-through. Now that is usually intentional to help make sure that as cars line up in the drive-through, there's no risk of overflow onto Emmons. Now, in this case, the current plan pushes that drive-through entrance closer into the site and extends the length to that drive-through. It also provides a greater distance between the ingress and the egress driveways from the Wawa property, which generally helps as one vehicle tries to exit the driveway and another one tries to enter a different driveway. It will increase the distance between those two conflicting maneuvers. And then finally, you'll also notice that the drive aisle directly in front of the building, which is where we would expect the most pedestrian activity, has been changed for a one-way drive aisle. Therefore, pedestrians only have to pay attention to one direction of oncoming traffic. So increasing safety. As we previously testified, the site is located in the B2 zone, which is a neighborhood center business district. It complies and it continues to comply with a dominant portion of the zoning regulations, specifically the bulk requirements for setbacks, building height, floor area ratio, and impervious coverage all remain compliant. We also maintain compliance with the 2 conditions for a fast food restaurant, including the drive-through being positioned greater than 30 feet from the property line, and also that the ingress and egress is from internal drive aisles, not from the public street. I think we will move forward to the site plan rendering. Which will get marked as A2.
Yep.
It is dated 10/16/24. When it opens. Also, which I had not given out. If the board is interested, I do have 11x17s of some of the plans. So if you want to get a closer look. There's 8 copies, so maybe 3 and 5 between the 2 tables. So while Duncan hands those out, the site continues to provide full access off of Emmons Drive. It provides full pedestrian circulation from Emmons Drive to the Chick-fil-A building, to the Wawa building, and all the way out to Route 1. The drive-through lane has capacity for 50 vehicles.
And how does that compare to the previous plan?
The previous plan had space for 52 vehicles.
Okay, and the actual queuing to the order station, what is that number? I mean, you might be telling me 50 is the whole capacity of the whole drive, but I'm wondering about how many to the order window, order station. Do we have a concept on that?
I will have to measure that out. It looks like here roughly half the length. I'm going to say 25. I could get you that number.
And how does that compare to the previous plan?
Don't have that directly in front of me, but I can get you that answer before the end of the
Maybe that's a consideration on trying to
course.
understand the difference between before and after,
I would-
especially for capacity, the capacity at the windows.
I would note that the way Chick-fil-A operates, that when they're under extreme loads, oftentimes the Chick-fil-A menu boards will be shut off and the orders will be fulfilled by employees who carry iPads, and they can take multiple orders at once. They can have 2 employees servicing 2 cars in the same lane. It increases the flexibility from just that menu board. That menu board is largely focused on a standard operation where they're not receiving a lot of queue. When that queue increases, it becomes a much more dynamic operation.
Now, there was extended testimony on this at the previous hearing. Is that testimony still valid?
Yes.
I just want to make sure that into the entry and egress lanes, that traffic waiting to order does not tumble out into those lanes. The ingress, egress, at the perimeter.
At the site perimeter or at the drive-through entrance?
Within the perimeter, beyond the order station here, your main drive within the property, that traffic doesn't tumble out there waiting to order.
No, and our traffic consultant will definitely go into more
Okay,
detail, but
that's
50 spaces is more than adequate for the typical Chick-fil-A operation.
Comparison to Lawrenceville's Chick-fil-A.
2 other Chick-fil-A's?
Lawrenceville in particular, but.
Yeah. There's one in North Brunswick. This one's
Lawrenceville's the closest to us, so I guess the capacity issue, I think Annis's question is about capacity comparison.
If you guys can wait till our next witness, we're gonna hit all the advantages.
Okay.
Give us a couple minutes, our traffic consultant's gonna
Sure.
come up and they'll make.
Fine, just make
Thank
sure
you.
it's addressed.
Thank you for your patience.
Go ahead, sorry.
no problem, of course.
Good question.
Yeah, so the site continues. It's serviced by a tractor trailer, WB50. Those deliveries happen 5 times a week, at least 5 to 6 times. Trash pickup happens around 4 to 5 times a week. The delivery is done overnight, so that overnight delivery does not impact the operations of the store. The trash enclosure holds individual trash and recycling for individual containers for both trash and recycling. The site has been reviewed by the township's fire chief. He's indicated that he's satisfied with the arrangement as shown. So, regards to parking, the prior approval for this project, the project was approved for 86 physical parking stalls. 6 of those were land banked. but with including the township's EV credit, which gives you a 1-to-1 credit for each EV space proposed, there's really 88 stalls proposed. The current plan proposes 82 physical spaces. I'm sorry, 79 physical spaces. There are 3 EV parking stalls. Therefore, with a 1-to-1 credit, you end up with 82 spaces proposed. So we've effectively reduced the proposed parking by 6 spaces. Why that's relevant is because the township has an ordinance for a waiver where if you exceed the number of required parking stalls, you need a waiver. So we are over by 28 parking stalls. Out of those 28 parking stalls, 13 of those are shared with Wawa. And then if you were to reduce them by the EV credit again, you end up with 66 parking stalls proposed that are actually physical spaces and dedicated to Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A operations typically rely around 65 parking spaces. So we're right on the mark with the parking that we think is warranted for this development. Also include the EV parking stalls. Sometimes you may hear that they come EV ready. Ours will not be EV ready. They will be installed with electric chargers at the time of construction.
At the time of what? Could you say that again?
With the construction of the building, the EV chargers will also get installed.
Thank
you. The impervious coverage for the proposed project remains unchanged at 37.7%. We worked with your professionals and they expressed that they would like to see a thicker buffer along Emmons Drive. We did go in, added to the buffer and added a berm that would help shield the drive-through operations along that frontage.
So in your illustration of the buffer, and you show the trees along that buffer, correct?
Yes, I can.
Okay. How long will it take that level of growth to happen to those trees in the illustration that you provided? I mean, are they really going to be planted as big specimens there?
No.
So I'm looking at the picture on the screen now.
For purposes of the record, what are we looking at?
This is Exhibit A3. It'll be Emmons Drive perspective 1.
So how many years are we seeing of the tree growth that we're now looking at in the illustration? How long will it take?
Growth is typically around 12 inches per year.
What kind of trees are they?
These are the ones you're looking at directly on the frontage of Emmons Drive. They are
Green giants?
no.
Leland cypress? So only
Plat-
two I know.
They're Bloodgood London plane tree. Platanus. I'm not even going to try to do the Latin name.
That's fine.
They have a mature height of 60 feet. And the install height will be up to 16 feet, 14 to 16 feet.
The install height would be 14 to 16.
Was it on a berm?
No, that is the height of the tree.
Oh, nice. Nice.
It is 3 to 3.5 inches.
I mean, the reason
Minimum.
I bring this up is that on day one, on opening day of Chick-fil-A in West Windsor, it's not going to look like that.
16 feet.
But that
16
level
feet.
that level of growth and foliage.
It's not exactly be that,
But
but
that's why I'm saying
okay.
that I want truth in the truth in advertising in the sense of what I'm looking at.
This is a rendering. Come on.
Do want to show what's being proposed and what that actually will look like. So
Eventually.
yeah.
Hope in our life.
Okay, it's on the record that eventually the 16-foot trees are gonna look like that.
Okay.
They grow hopefully a foot a year, right?
No.
And you don't want to plant trees that are too mature, otherwise they die.
They're gonna die.
Absolutely.
I should talk about some more, sorry. I'm also,
Okay,
I'm also
swirl
like
it.
he's a landscape architect, I think that's not.
Michael Swirl, guys.
Yeah, let's swear. Jerry, you wanna swear or?
Oh, yeah.
questions in?
David, if you could raise your right hand, do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth? So sworn or affirmed. Brian,
Raise your right hand.
do you swear or affirm that testimony you give will be the truth? Okay, thank you.
Okay, please proceed. Thank you.
I'm going to pull up the building elevations and comparison to the Wawa next to us. This will be A4. It is Chick-fil-A Wawa color elevation comparison, and it is dated 1/23/24. This one, as you can tell by the date, completely unchanged from the prior application. You can see that, and now you've seen it in person, the beige color scheme of both buildings, the red signage, that these are relatively compatible color schemes.
I'm sorry, I just have a quick question on the other plan.
No problem.
At the trash compact area, I'm sorry, the trash area. Okay. Why is there an opening in the island? I would assume that there would be going, the trash truck would be going straight in, and what's that opening for into the drive-through lanes?
That opening to the drive-through is actually an escape lane for the drive-through. You can imagine this is a pretty long length, so we usually will provide us an escape lane so that if a car changes their mind, decides that they want to go to Wawa and not go to Chick-fil-A, they can exit the drive-through.
So that would really be, well, more convenient for the lane that's closest to it, obviously. Are you going to sign that as such?
Yes, we will sign it with do not enter signs on the side with the trash enclosure.
Okay, but you'll have a sign indicating that they can enter from the drive-through lanes.
Yes, yes. Well,
I'm sorry?
A sign indicating what?
That they can enter, that it essentially is an escape route for
It
them.
says fire lane on it, though.
I think the escape aspect of it is relative, like it's apparent. I think the do not enter sign on the one side will prevent any entrances in the opposite direction. However, going that way,
People could just try to figure it out.
yeah.
Right, I don't think you want them using it, unless it's really the reason to get out of there.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
People will just figure it out.
Yep.
So.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
of course. Okay, so remaining with the landscaping and aesthetics, we've worked with the township professionals to specify a decorative sidewalk around the building and also around the coming from the Wawa property, matching the same sidewalk that the Wawa property used. The only areas that are not that decorative paver would be that decorative sidewalk are the areas where the team members use and the sidewalk along the drive-through. The reason I mentioned the sidewalks, the township has a waiver requirement. You must specify permeable side for all materials that aren't intended to be used by a motor vehicle, a permeable surface. We think the aesthetics partially out providing the permeable sidewalk also. And we have added 60 first pavement parking. So those 60 stalls exceed the amount of area that would have been provided from the sidewalk. So those, and they also have an added component. They provide water quality treatment in motor vehicle surface areas. So they will help filter out some contaminants before they would end up in the wooded areas, which wouldn't be provided with the sidewalks. One comment from the landscape architect's letter did request, I'm going to pull up another perspective. A5. Same exhibit, page 2. So in this perspective, you can see that there's a split rail fence that runs along the west property, not the west property line, but the west edge of our development area on the property. That split rail fence does not show a mesh. That lack of mesh is intentional. The DEP requires that you use an open split rail fence in areas adjacent to wetlands. So that open rail fence allows animals to traverse through the fence and not be impeded by the mesh. So we are going to ask that we keep it as is without the mesh specified. Typically, our site would, our office does use mesh to prevent people from climbing through the rails, but we did this to maintain the DEP requirements. The lighting largely remains unchanged. It will be 25-foot poles. They will be a dark bronze color, similar to the building. I mean, similar to the meal delivery canopy, the ordering canopy, the parapet caps. So it'll be a cohesive design. Perimeter lighting is all forward throw. There's house side shields on all the perimeter lighting to limit glare that might shine onto the approaching roadways. Go ahead.
If you have, if you pole, you have 25 feet high, 22 feet high, and you have 3 feet above the grade for the concrete.
25 feet high.
You have 3 feet above the grade, the concrete foundation. Still, you're using the old 25 feet high poles also, and it's almost at the grade level, the concrete level. And you are, in description, you are saying you are having the 3 feet high concrete because vehicle may not impact the pole. So why are you using the old poles now? 20 of pole with no battery above the grade.
We're using a 6-inch foundation exposure.
3 feet foundation also.
It's only 6 inches off of the, it's buried deeper. Go ahead. Oh, it is actually 22 feet tall poles mounted above a 6-inch found.
Total 25 feet from the grade. I have to find the drawing. Okay.
I mean, the lighting plan is ES1.
ES1, ES2 at the back.
Oh, here it is.
ES1 or ES2 in the back.
There's a, for those of you looking at the plan, there's a foundation detail provided on ES1. I can pull it up actually for the rest. Let me pull it up.
That's what detailed drawing is for the foundations.
Large drawing files are not our friend.
When you put the material of the foundations, 7 feet total foundation. Same drawing if your two poles you are using existing. Maybe after. Oh, maybe. Oh, I'm sorry. It's a different application.
Oh, he's thinking, yeah,
It was on this one.
yeah, that's the market fair lighting. Yeah.
It's not yours.
Okay. All right.
So Duncan, I have a question about wayfinding. Should I save that for traffic
Yes.
or
Yep.
save? Okay.
Yep.
Then I'll ask my other question of a more general nature. Travelers, I've noticed in all the years I've lived in central New Jersey that travelers, especially in the summertime, along US Route 1, the volume increases with every toll hike upon the turnpike. So a southbound traveler would leave at exit 9, New Brunswick, come down Highway 1 to connect to 295 to go south into Pennsylvania and Delaware and Maryland. Okay, having said that, this is right now, the only Wawa on the southbound side between New Brunswick and 295. And this Chick-fil-A would be the second Chick-fil-A on the southbound side, yet there is one in North Brunswick also on the southbound side. So my question is, for travelers coming through that decide that they do want to do a rest stop at this location, some of the travelers in the vehicle might want to go to the Wawa, some might want to go to the Chick-fil-A. Can you talk about pedestrian connectivity between the Chick-fil-A and the Wawa
No,
so
no.
that it's safe for what I've just described?
Yep, no problem. So you can see my mouse pointer. There are two connection points between the Wawa property and the Chick-fil-A property via sidewalk. There is the sidewalk that if you've been to the Wawa, you may have noticed that tucked along the back side, they have a pavered sidewalk that connects to, that we will then pick up and connect into. That connection ties both to the Chick-fil-A and actually the shopping center to our south had an old sidewalk connection. So that sidewalk continues up along the drive-through near the meal ordering canopy along the 13 shared parking spaces. It then meets another sidewalk that stems out to the Wawa property where you could then cross the meal ordering canopy and walk into the store. So there's signage, crosswalks, and sidewalks connecting between both Chick-fil-A and Wawa. There's also internal sidewalks on the Chick-fil-A side that connect to most of the parking spaces and associated crosswalks.
I mean, my gut feeling, Lucas, Tyler, is that upper, beyond the order canopy, that the shortest line between the two buildings is where I would think there would be more pedestrian activity between the upper, on the north side of the Wawa building and the south side of the Chick-fil-A building, you know, that where
Right
the buildings
between
are
the,
close to each other.
yep, right between the fueling canopy.
And yet I
Mm.
sort of, and nearer to the gas canopies of the Wawa. So I'm just wondering if there's good connectivity there that can be worked with the Wawa on.
We do propose a sidewalk. If I zoom in, if you look under the shading of this tree, you can see a sidewalk connection.
Yeah, I'm thinking more on the Wawa side. It's just pavement without consideration of that. But I hope you guys can work that out. That's enough on that.
While you're over there, can I ask a question about?
Of course.
13 shared parking spaces?
Yes.
They're shared between Chick-fil-A and Wawa, right?
Yes.
But I don't see how, if you're in the Chick-fil-A property, how do you park there? Like, I don't see how a car can maneuver.
It is, I would say it is, are you referring to it being segregated by the drive-through?
You have the drive-through, right? Like, it's hard for me to see this, right? And then there's a crosswalk, and then there's parking spaces. Now I can see how you get there from Wawa, you traversing and then you just pull in, but I don't see.
So,
Doesn't exist.
so we are working on a cross-access for the parking. So there is the access to those parking stalls for Chick-fil-A will be done through the Wawa drive aisle. and there will be an agreement in place so that the Chick-fil-A customer can use that driveway.
Okay, so if I understand correctly, let's say you're in the Chick-fil-A property and all the spots are taken except for those 13. You're coming down through, you have to enter the Wawa station, so then you can maneuver in and pull into one of those 13? So you're talking about?
Show the path.
So there's I guess a myriad of ways of getting there, but the first option, if you were coming from Emmons, would be to pull, well, from an access standpoint. You would pull in through the Chick-fil-A. Let's say there's a lot of parking, but let's say
Say they were all full.
yes,
It's a busy day.
you would travel south along the drive aisle. You would hook left.
Yep, so far I got you. Yep.
You would then enter the Wawa
Okay,
parking lot.
It's the only way to then go and left turn and
Around the drive. That's
Okay,
how Yep.
so then to your statement is that there's going to be an agreement in place that Wawa is gonna let you do that.
Yes.
Because I thought Wawa did not want you using their property to maneuver in,
It's part of the agreement.
part of the agreement. So that's gonna be a condition of approval, Jeremy, I
Yeah,
guess?
yes, would have to be.
Okay,
That's fine.
okay.
But once you parked in the 13 spaces, how do you get to the Chick-fil-A? Do you go down the? Well, I know but you, no, I see that, but you walk in the drive aisle, you drive aisle for Wawa?
There's a sidewalk. and
Oh,
then-
there's the sidewalk. Okay, all right, thank you.
Behind the
Right.
spots.
Yeah, you walk along the sidewalk and then you cross it over. Okay. I got it.
Thank you.
I guess one other allied access issue is there's no issue with Windsor Green that you have an extension of the sidewalk going right up to their property.
We aren't proposing any improvements on their lot. The
No,
alternative,
but I see you have a sidewalk that sort of dead ends right at Windsor Green's property. You see where I'm saying? Below?
yes, you're referring to,
Yeah, show it off.
I think maybe this will be a better representation. So
Yeah,
that's,
that little connection there, yeah.
that's an existing connection.
Oh.
We are proposing the black paver you see, like that black paver pattern you see there would be us, but that sidewalk on the other side. If you zoom in closer, you will see. Sorry.
That's how I.
Yeah, that little vertical right
Thank
there
you.
on the plan. On the,
That's where I cut through for.
Basically, they're
right, to go, right.
you're not proposing anything on Windsor Green's property.
Correct.
So that into what is there, grass, woods?
Right now.
There's like a little, it's like a little strip of grass dirt there.
Yeah, that's what I saw.
Yeah, there's,
Cut through there when I went to the Wawa.
Oh, yeah. I mean, seriously, I could see because of the high level of use at Windsor Green, I could see somebody parking on the Windsor Green side to go to either the Wawa or the Chick-fil-A. You know, just walking onto just following the crosswalk patterns and using it. I mean, Windsor Green might not like that, but it'll happen in real life.
We not proposing that.
I mean, of course you're not proposing.
Definitely, I mean, anything's possible.
Yep.
So, yeah.
I mean, it could happen.
Okay. Before we get too far on the lighting, is there any other questions? No? Before we get too far on the lighting, there are two waivers associated to the lighting. The first waiver is the ordinance permits a maximum average of 0.5 foot candles in the parking lots where we currently propose 1.6 as the average. Previously, 1.9 foot candles was approved. So we have improved from the prior approval, but typically Chick-fil-A likes to remain between 1 and 2 foot candles in the parking lot, just given the amount of pedestrians that are there to increase safety. And then the second waiver is for the exceedance of 1 foot candle at the property line, where 3.3 foot candles is proposed at the curb cut. I'm going to give you guys a plan, I guess, so you can see this. Oh, this is the one that wasn't cooperating. It now looks like it is.
Tyler, you're showing the site plan set, which was previously submitted unchanged, correct? It's blank.
Correct, unchanged. This is the exact copy that was submitted to the board. In this area, you will see that there's a 3.3 foot candle marker. That is only at this access driveway. It increases safety. There's going to be pedestrians using that crosswalk. That is the only location where we exceed the requirement. And actually, in Mr. Guzik's letter, he acknowledges that he agrees that this is a safer application.
And Tyler, could you go back over the parking lot? What is the ordinance standard and what are you proposing?
So the ordinance standard is 1 foot candle at property lines. There is a 3.3 foot candle proposed.
Okay.
And then the first one, if you missed that, the maximum average in the parking lot's 0.5, and we are proposing 1.6.
Do the lights go off at a certain hour?
Yes, they would go off 1 hour after closing, so around 11 p.m.
So Chick-fil-A closes at 10, it goes off at 11.
Yes, except for security lighting.
Except for security lighting in the park.
Yes. I'm going to move to signage.
Could we talk about lighting of the flagpole? Was that a separate, the flag is what, 50 feet tall or something?
Yes, 50 feet tall.
And how's that gonna be lit?
That's a great question. I think
I'm sorry?
From the.
So a spotlight on the roof is going to hit the flag.
That's correct.
Okay,
Is that what?
That was what was approved with our prior application.
Oh, it was.
it's the same flagpole too.
I don't remember a light from the roof spotlighting the flagpole.
I thought it was
No.
the lights coming on.
I thought it was, yes,
I thought it was gonna be uplight,
that's what I thought too.
People were concerned about lighting from the roof.
right? And we did approve a 50-foot.
Did we approve
pole?
50 feet,
I
50-foot height last?
We approved the height of 50.
right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, my concern with on the roof is when the flag's not blowing, let's say there's no wind, that light's gonna be shining
Yes.
hundreds of feet away into someone's window.
And that was the exact point at the last.
I don't remember that exact point, but that's what I'm thinking now.
It's our testimony in March and continues to be that it's less impactful from the roof at that height than to come from the ground, you know.
Yeah, but think about it. You have a spotlight on the roof shining at a flag that's 50 feet up in the air. The flag is limp because there's no wind. And I don't know how powerful this spotlight's gonna be, but it's gonna pass on both sides of the flagpole and it's gonna be hitting someone's window hundreds of yards away.
It's gonna spread out.
Yes.
It'll spread.
It's actually shining south, which means you really pass off our property. It's not gonna shine towards the out like that.
Okay, well, that's helpful.
That's what it's done.
But still, I don't remember.
It's done like this at just about all Chick-fil-A's. If you're curious, or you've seen elsewhere, it's not something we're proposing just here. It's.
I understand. Can't put a light on top of the flagpole?
And
Looking at the
60?
You wouldn't be able to orient the light to hit the flag on the pole.
Tyler, could you bring up the site plan and indicate the flagpole location?
yeah,
Sure.
it's
So on the site plan exhibit, if you look near the entrance to Emmons Drive, there is a landscape.
Drive side. Okay.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
but you're proposing that the spotlight be put where on the roof?
40?
So it would be in
I see.
the
Okay, thank you.
northwest
Thank you.
corner.
Sir? The-
Spotlight is hidden behind the parapet, behind the.
Well,
building.
yeah, but it's going up and it's facing Woodmont.
Mm,
You, I
Well,
don't,
it-
That direction, that
it's,
direction.
Thing
it's
is that
facing
it-
in that direction.
What's the angle of the roof to the flagpole? The flag is 50 feet. How tall is
And
the light on the roof is how many feet?
the roof height is less than 22 feet high.
Maybe
And the
24,
flagpole is
maybe
50.
24 feet for the top of the light. I'm just trying to
Well,
remember.
the
my
light will be,
Just going over my geometry from high.
Yeah.
by all means.
Tell me what angle that creates.
It looks like it looks like it's something above, it's maybe 120.
Trigonometry.
I don't know, it may just go up into the air and not hit any, it's not gonna hit any houses or it's not gonna hit any.
Yeah, it
It's
depends on the intensity of the light
Yeah,
and the spread. I don't know any of that information and
how
I,
about a laser? Can we get a laser there?
well, that would probably be good.
For LED.
Glare. But
They should have, it's getting things in the office from the residents in that area.
That's
Okay.
totally reasonable.
Jerry, you got that?
Well, we can do that. Obviously, it's inconsistent with what the board decided previously.
Doesn't matter, this is gonna be what's gonna be.
This is a changed application.
I would say that as the light will be behind the parapet, so the glare will be largely blocked. There are a very established woodland to the west of our development, and that
It's facing upward.
the Woodmont development is several hundred feet away. I can definitely get you that number, but
Right.
that would be a pretty impressive light.
Roughly 120-degree angle or maybe even more, and it's facing upward.
It's gotta go through a cell tower on the A1 limo site, and then it'll go over the clubhouse for the country club and head out that way.
Okay.
It won't interfere with Frontier Airlines. That'd be good.
I don't think it's gonna blink for class.
That's how we won a flight ban.
So
So
Stan,
I think the reasonable thing is, as was proposed, that if there are complaints,
Then
We don't want to be bad neighbors, if that's, we don't
Right,
expect
so-
that to be the case, but if it is, we would certainly.
Right, you'll look at solutions, you'll work with our professionals,
Yeah.
look for solutions.
Without question.
That's fine.
Okay.
Okay, that's
That's fine.
fine for me.
Okay. We'll move on to signage. The development, there's two freestanding signs. There were previously two freestanding signs, they were approved. The first sign is within the Wawa panel sign. You will see that there is currently a white fill-in slot waiting for a new sign to go in. So it will be right below the arches of the gas station. I have a better exhibit. Want to make sure you understand that. This is from the site plan. This is a construction detail. This is the plan that was shared with the board. The area of that sign is 48 square feet. The second freestanding sign will be the monument sign. The monument sign will be near the Emmons driveway. That sign is 8 feet tall, also 48 square feet in area. The lower two will be brick fascia. There also included a message board that was also approved. So we do need two waivers for the freestanding sign. One, there's only one freestanding sign permitted, whereas we proposed two, and although only one of them is on our site, and then the second is for height. Where we propose 8 feet and there's only 4 feet permitted. We think that the inclusion of a landscaped berm along Emmons Drive, it's only been more important that we get the extra height on that sign to make sure that visitors know where the entrance driveway will be.
There's testimony at the hearing in March, excuse me, about the message board, that it wouldn't be used for pricing specials. It was more community type messaging.
Right.
That's we looked at with this application.
Correct.
Thank you.
Next is building signage. There are a total of 4 building mounted signs. There are 3 types. 2 of them, one faces Emmons Drive, one faces Route 1 and the Wawa property, one facing the internal parking lot positioned over the door, and one welcome sign next to the door. We are seeking a waiver for 4 building mounted signs, whereas only 1 is permitted. Now, the reason for those signs, the script sign that is mounted over the door, which you can see here using the Chick-fil-A script, that one's to help customers orient to the front door and where they would place their order inside the building. The Wawa facing sign assists drivers approaching along Emmons, which, as I mentioned, the monument sign gets partially blocked by that landscape buffer, and acts as an indicator from and the approaching driveway. The welcome sign, those 2 are both the script signs. The welcome sign, you can see here, it gets positioned next to the entry door. It gets positioned above a bench. It becomes more of a backdrop for photos and social media posts. It mentions West Windsor Township. So we just think that one's a nice benefit.
And that particular sign, welcome friends and neighbors, is not illuminated, correct?
Not illuminated. Logo that will be facing Emmons. That sign, we propose a monument sign along Emmons. The issue with a monument sign is you can only see it from the roadway. It does not provide good visual appeal from perpendicular, where we have commercial and office complexes opposite. Also, whereas previously we were approved for 3 building mounted signs, that was a result of the orientation of the building. So if I'm to go back to the comparison exhibit, when the building was along the south property line, the building sign mounted over the entry door faced both Emmons and the parking lot. So it was serving two missions. Now that the building has been flipped, that building sign over the door can no longer serve Emmons Drive. So now this Chick-fil-A logo would be filling that void. Well, this is actually a good representation. So our waivers on these signs, there's a max total square feet of building sign of 50 square feet, whereas we propose 179.51 square feet. The max letter height permitted is 18 inches. The proposed maximum letter height, largely stemming from that Chick-fil-A C logo, is 60 inches. And then one final waiver is for wayfinding signage. The maximum permitted size for wayfinding signage is 2 square feet. We propose 3 square feet. These are monochromatic signs. They're just help orient the driver to get into the drive-through. So increasing safety. And then just some housekeeping items.
Is this to scale, this picture?
This exact picture may not be to scale. I do have, assuming they included a scale, I do have the original elevations. Actually, I have them on board too. You'd like me to measure the?
Yeah, do you have the picture to scale or no?
To a scale that can be measured, or just in scale with the building size?
Yeah,
This is to scale with the building. Okay, let me see if. This is the same exhibit. This exhibit has several perspective views. This might help you orient yourself. This would be the entrance over the building entrance. So that is the first script sign. Here you can see both signs. This is also the sign facing the Wawa canopy.
Scale, you're saying? Yes. Okay. Okay. And how big is the letters here? You said two.
The tallest letter is 60 inches, but that is the C in the Chick-fil-A logo.
So 5 feet.
Very similar, not exactly the same.
Yes, the two script signs were previously approved.
Side of the building visible.
Okay.
It's on how the new building is laid out.
Got it. Okay.
Otherwise, it's the same sign package on the building.
Okay. Thank you.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And then just to, like I said, a few housekeeping items. The site previously received DEP approval for our legacy plan. We have reapplied to the DEP. We've reduced our impacts to the transition area, so we feel that we're confident we will receive another approval. We have resubmitted to the SCD for this new layout. We've also resubmitted to the DRCC. They have reviewed it. They gave us the comments, mostly just clarifications, didn't require much plan redesign, or really any. And then we will also agree to contact the sewerage authority pending approval to release the excess sanitary flow, which was asked by the board engineer, because the hotel obviously had a larger demand than our development. And then the only other item also from the engineer's letter, we are going to conservatively request a waiver. If you on page 7 of the engineer's letter, numbered 6.01B in set 2, letter I. There's a comment regarding the gutter flow in front of the property being less than 0.75%. We are not proposing any grade changes within the right of way. That is an existing condition. We would request that waiver be granted. We are not aware of any issues with present drainage. The Wawa seems to have been operating. They would have also complained if there was ponded conditions. So we're requesting a waiver, but we will work with your engineer to find the best solution for that. We propose 0.4% in the gutter, which is a current condition. Sorry, it's an existing condition in front of our driveway. I can give you the location so the board gets a better perspective. If I pull up this, it would be
Fine on that condition regarding the drainage. Okay.
okay. Sure. So I will pull up a loading exhibit. This will be a new exhibit. This is titled WB50 Delivery Truck Circulation Exhibit. It's dated 6/28/24.
Yep.
So this shows a WB50 tractor trailer entering from Route 1 south onto Emmons Drive, turning left into the property. The trailer would position, I will show with my mouse cursor, the trailer positions in the drive aisle. They unload through the service door and then would leave out through Route 1 As I said previously, there's drop key delivery. It happens overnight. There would be no customers, at least inside the store at this time. And it wouldn't impact the day-to-day active operations of the store. No, there was no loading zone previously. There remains.
Tyler, in our position, we comply with the comments of the board engineer.
Yes.
Happy to obviously answer any questions that are because they have.
Nothing right now.
Sure.
Let's bring up the next person.
Sure. I have two more witnesses. Next one is our traffic engineer,
Okay,
Traffic Downey. What exhibit do you want up there, Pat?
I think that's what the section I read, I guess it was 82.
Was H2. Pat, you were previously sworn, I believe. Let's get you qualified, just like we did. Our first witness, your professional licensing, any educational background, and professional experience you have.
Yes, sir. I have a Bachelor of Science degree in Civil Engineering from Rowan University, licensed professional engineer in New Jersey and Pennsylvania. Previously testified before this board and other land use boards throughout New Jersey. Prepared the traffic study for this particular project.
okay, your license is current still.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Let's go through traffic, especially compared to what we testified to in March. And also you heard some questions from the board prior to this. We defer to you. Let's try to answer those as well.
Yep, absolutely. I guess I'll start outward and work my way in, starting with site access. As you heard before, there was previously one direct access to Evans Drive. There remains one access, but its location has shifted. It's now at the west end of the site. We think it's a better layout. It properly lines up with the on-site drive aisles instead of having a back-to-back curve as the previous layout did. It encourages drive-through exiting vehicles to exit directly to Emmons Drive, whereas the previous layout would have encouraged them to go through the Wawa site to exit to Route 1. And it positions the entrance to the drive-through a little bit further interior to the site. As I'll get to in a moment, there's more than adequate drive-through stacking provided here, but in a worst case scenario, it does provide that entrance even further interior to the site for additional overflow. We did submit a traffic study as part of the application. The overall findings are virtually identical to the prior application with the prior layout, simply because it's the same building, same use, same piece of property, very similar access configuration. The report was prepared in accordance with New Jersey DOT's methodology in terms of collecting of existing traffic data, projecting of traffic for this particular use, interaction with Wawa, and how to analyze intersections.
I'd like to ask a question on that
Sure.
matter with traffic studies with egress from the site. How on a traffic study, for a retail use like this, how do you account for where the customers are coming from or going to once they leave the site? Let me give you an example on this. For almost all of West Windsor, there really are no residential uses south of the site. When a West Windsor resident coming to the Chick-fil-A, going home afterwards, I would guess that the majority of those persons would make the left turn onto Emmons Drive to filter back into West Windsor Township by Canal Point or Meadow Road. So in egress traffic, how do you account for that dynamic?
Great question. It's a twofold. So there are two types of trips for commercial use. There are primary trips and pass-by trips. A primary trip is where going to this location is the primary purpose of your trip. So I'm home, I want Chick-fil-A, I go to the Chick-fil-A and then I return home. A pass-by trip is you're already on the road. You just pop in and continue on your way from work to home, for example. For primary trips, so it's, as you stated, very based on residential population
And location.
and location. It's based on what's called a gravity model. It's a DOT methodology adopted from, higher order traffic engineering standards, where the distribution of traffic is proportional to population density and population location based upon the latest US Census data. So we actually have census data pulled to see where the residential populations are in proximity to the site, and the distribution is based on that information. So to your prior point, there are a significant amount of the primary trips, the residential based trips that make the left out of the site to head back to the north.
Right, they might not enter the site that way. Because
Correct.
most of them might come down Highway 1.
Yep, we look at it,
Highway 1.
enter and
But
exiting.
exiting to go back into the rest of West Windsor Township, they would probably want to go onto Emmons to get to Canal Point to get to the rest of the township.
Yes, correct.
What did you estimate the pass-by traffic percentage?
The DOT accepted rates, which are based on the Institute of Transportation Engineers. We study 3 distinct peak hours in a typical week. During the weekday morning, it's 49%. Weekday PM is 50%, and Saturday midday is 37%. Correct. That's specific to particularly the type of use. For a different type of use, it'd be different rates.
Particular use like a Chick-fil-A, that's why the rates are very high, 9%. Because if you're going to work, on your way, you drop and stop and get a breakfast and go to work. Same way on your way back home.
Well, what's interesting on that, Quasi, is my guess is gut feeling, not any empirical evidence, but my guess is that a northbound driver really has to be motivated to go to make the in effect jug handle U-turn over Meadow Road to come back on southbound 1 to get to these locations, the Wawa and the Chick-fil-A. You really have to be motivated to go make the loop to come back down on southbound 1 to go to this use, correct?
Yeah, that's one of your 51%, because the other 49 would not do it, because 49 is on your way, you pick up and leave.
Okay. Is that your gut feeling on that too?
Yes, mathematically, that's accounted for in there. As I mentioned, it's based on where the population is and how far it is from the site. It's further to get to our site. The actual travel distance is further from northbound, so it accounts for exactly that. So overall, conclusion of the traffic study remains as it was before, that all the DOT's level of service and delay criteria are satisfied. There's no significant traffic impact to the adjacent roadways from the project. Moving interior to the site, the actual site design, we'll start with the drive-through. As you heard at the last meeting and again today, it's a dual drive-through throughout. It's Chick-fil-A's preferred layout for new stores. It's the most efficient. It works people through the system the fastest. The stacking capacity is significant. To give some perspective, we have counts at 17 other New Jersey Chick-fil-A's to see what the peak queues are at those locations. The average queue among those stores is 27 vehicles. This is designed to accommodate 50. And that's just within the formal concrete drive-through area that you see, not accounting for additional overflow in aisles within the site if absolutely necessary, but we don't expect it to get there under typical conditions. In terms of comparison to the Lawrenceville store, I heard that mentioned before. There's really 2 key differences between that store and this one. In that one, there's 2 lanes at the ordering point. They actually have to merge to 1 because it's a tight site, and then they open up back to 2 for meal fulfillment. So it's good it has the 2 at the ordering and fulfillment, but that little bottleneck in the middle makes it less efficient than when this would be. And in terms of the physical size, that can stack approximately 32 vehicles, whereas again, this can stack 50, so it's over 50% greater stacking capacity. Moving on to the parking, as you heard before, we provide additional parking spaces. We gave a lot of testimony at the last meeting about why that is. Chick-fil-A's projected demand is a little bit higher than what's contemplated with the ordinance rate. However, we did reduce it from the prior plan to something more in conformance with the maximum standard from the ordinance. overall reduction of 6 spaces, accounting for the EV credits in both the prior and current proposal conditions. The dimensions on site, drive aisles, parking spaces remain compliant. Loading space you heard before, there's no loading space proposed. That's one relief that was previously granted and remains because of when the tractor trailer is timed off operating hours. So overall, it was and remains our professional opinion that this site is designed to provide safe and efficient access to the site, doesn't result in a substantial traffic impact in roadways, and interior is designed to accommodate drive-through parking, et cetera, as appropriate for this use.
How we compare this to the Lawrenceville Chick-fil-A?
Yeah, so that's what I was going into before. The Lawrence Chick-fil-A can stack 32 vehicles and this can stack 50. So this is significantly larger and its design is more efficient.
From entering order to the where you pick up the order, right?
That's correct.
And you said the average in New Jersey was 27
27
yeah.
vehicles. I don't have count the Lawrence one, but Marketplace, that one had 34 when we observed it at peak. So would be handily accommodated with this design.
And this building is the same size as Lawrence or not?
I'm not sure what the size is at the
I
moment.
mean, to me, it looks like the same size as Edison. I don't know if the Chick-fil-A guy's here, but the Edison location, which is relatively new. So I'll ask my wayfinding question now.
Yes.
So take the scenario, walk me through it. I'm entering the Chick-fil-A coming southbound on Highway 1, passing the Wawa at the bottom of your site plan and entering at that drive. Can you tell me about wayfinding signs to get me to the drive lanes
Sure.
and illustrate if possible?
So Route 1 southbound, you really have two options. Let's say you turn in advance of the Wawa onto Emmons Drive and
No, my particular
Oh,
question
sure.
is from the Wawa.
from the Wawa, you're in the parking lot. Sure. So you come west down this bottom southern aisle. There's a wayfinding sign roughly in this location saying for the drive-through, head straight. You come around the turn, the drive-through is right there, but there's also a sign saying turn right for the drive-through, and then you would enter.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay,
Questions for our traffic engineer?
yeah, good, Ron.
I don't know if you'll be answering this question, but I would think you might take a stab at it, but of the past 5 trips, you know what percentage of those people actually use the drive-through versus?
I know with mobile order picking up overall, we're at roughly 50% drive-through at the moment. As far as how the primary and pass-by trips compare in that regard, I might speculate that it's a bit higher, but I don't, I can't say for certain.
I would as well.
Yeah.
Is the percentage of drive-through pretty much constant in all stores or it depends on location?
It definitely varies with location and regionally, kind of like what that region, prefers in terms of that particular population. I think pass-by trips, drive-through operations, a good chunk of the expected operation here simply because it's proximity to Route 1. It's a lot of commuting public.
I do have a question. I see a second canopy along the eastern edge on the drive-through.
Yes, right there.
Is that an order too?
That is the ordering canopy as opposed to the meal fulfillment canopy. So under that is where orders are being taken. It's where the team members stand to take their orders.
So the team members will be standing over there and in addition to next to the.
Yes,
Next to the.
correct.
Restaurant as well?
Yep.
Okay. Right. How many cars do you think from all the way up to the car, the restaurant?
Yeah. So from the ordering canopy to the entrance.
Yes.
Yeah, I can't scale it off what I was looking at before. It's roughly in the middle. So I will say it's in, the 25 plus or minus range. And it's fairly comparable to where it was on the prior application about halfway through that drive-through stack.
What's the average processing time for any meal order? Do you know that?
It's not something we've counted. I've heard it's between 4 and 5 minutes from placing the order to getting the food. There's obviously a little waiting before placing the order too. So
Okay, in the range of 4 to 5 minutes.
Yeah, from ordering to picking up, yes.
Okay, anything else? Okay.
Okay.
Next.
Our last
Thank you.
witness is our professional planner. We do have some waivers requested as you've already noted. Sworn, qualified, we did the rest of our witnesses.
Good evening.
Your professional experience, educational background, any license?
Yes, again, Daniel Block, with Colliers Engineering and Design, licensed professional planner in the state of New Jersey. Certified by the American Institute of Certified Planners.
Is your mic on?
It's on. Yeah.
Okay.
Testified before this board previously and actually served as the board planner for this board for a time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, as was mentioned before, we don't have any variance relief required for this application. We are compliant with the bulk requirements. We do have a number of design waivers or exceptions to the site plan requirements. All of these were previously granted. There are some minor changes, so I'll just quickly go through what those changes are. And previously, we were granted a waiver for a loading berth where we're required one loading berth. None are proposed. That's not changed. We did have a waiver for the excessive number of parking stalls. Under the prior plan, we had, excuse me, 17 extra spaces. With this new configuration, we have 25 extra spaces. None of those are being land banked on this plan, so they're all going to be constructed. 3 of those are going to be EV charging stalls. So we have a total of 79 spaces proposed now. The lighting, we had a waiver for the intensity of lighting. Previously, we were at 1.9 foot candles in certain locations. Now we're at 1.6. So we did reduce that a little bit with the new plan. 0.5 is the max permitted. And that's the average that we're supposed to have. So we have 1.9 on the old plan, 1.6 on the new plan. The average intensity at the property line is supposed to be 1 foot candle. We were previously given a waiver for 3.1. With the new plan, we're at 3.3. Very similar, not much change. The number of wall signs, you heard testimony before from the engineer on the number of wall signs. So we're permitted 1. We were previously granted 2 of the Chick-fil-A script signs. Now we're asking for 1 additional logo sign above the drive-through canopy and 1 additional wall sign, the welcome sign. It's not really an identification sign, just an extra wall sign. And then along with that, because of the total square footage of those signs is increased, we're now going from 117 square feet up to 179.5 total square footage of those 4 wall signs. So we need a waiver for that. Previously, we had a waiver for the maximum lettering height of those wall signs that was allowed 18 inches. We're proposing 60 inches for those Chick-fil-A script signs. That's not changing. So we
Question on that really quick. The 60 inches again is the C with the little design on top
Yes.
of the C, right?
correct.
The chickens.
What's the height of the other letters? It's like half, right?
It's about half of that. Yeah.
So 30 inches.
I don't have an exact number for you, but it's about half. I would say around 30 inches. We could get that for you for the record.
No, I'm just curious. Okay.
Yeah.
And so it's 18 is the ordinance, and other than the C, the other letters are about 30.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. The monument sign is proposed to be. Okay, we're proposing 2 monument signs, really 1 on this property, 1 on the Wawa property, because we're sharing a sign with them. So we.
Has Wawa agreed to that?
I'm sorry?
Wawa has agreed to that, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, that's
Yes.
gonna be a condition though. Right, because we don't want to approve it, then Wawa, comes back and says no.
We understand that. We understand what happened in March. We take our share of responsibility.
Okay.
We're sure that Wawa is reviewed what we're proposing there.
Okay,
They
so
find it to be so.
condition is that the monument sign that we're approving will be allowed by on Wawa's property.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Right. And then along with that, the monument sign, the size of the monument sign, we were previously granted a height of 8 feet where 4 feet is allowed. We're asking for that same relief again. It's the same sign as previously approved.
And Wawa's agreed to an 8-foot monument sign. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Previous testimony was for the instructional signage. The ordinance allows for 2 square feet. We're asking for 3 square feet, and that's the signage that directs the vehicles into the drive-through and into the parking areas. We think it's important to have that a little bit larger so you really can see and read it for wayfinding.
But that's not a change, correct?
That is not changed. That's it. The other waivers are all the same. Nothing else changed on the site for the other ones. So again, for the same reasons as, we testified in March, I believe that these waivers can be granted.
You can use it.
That the literal enforcement would be impracticable within the intent of the ordinance or exact undue hardship. I believe all of these are reasonable requests for these waivers or exceptions.
Right. Okay. Anybody? Anybody have any issues with signage? Okay.
Thank you.
Daniel, I'd say from your variance waiver request list that you, as part of the materials, did you tonight say anything different than what was on here?
No, that's the current list. Yes,
Okay,
that's what I
thank
was
you.
testifying to.
Okay, thank you.
That concludes our direct testimony. Be happy to answer any questions from your board or your staff, or the public when it's their turn.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna hear from our professionals now. Okay, Dave, before you start, I just want to read into the record Chief Lynch's memo, just so because I always forget. So, Chief Lynch's memo dated September 25th, 2024. Regarding PB 24-10 Chick-fil-A, his overview is that the applicant's proposed construction and 5,600 square foot Chick-fil-A drive-through restaurant, associated site improvements. He says there's access to the site for emergency vehicles is adequate. The water supply for fire protection is adequately proposed. And he concludes, I do not have any comments or concerns regarding this proposal. So let that be known for the record that Chief Lynch has approved. Okay, David, you're up.
Okay, good evening, everybody. David Novak, still for the record, with Burgess Associates, Township Planning Consultant. We had a memo dated October 7th, 2024. I'll be very brief. I concur with the applicant's planner's assessment. There are no variances required for this application. The waivers that they recapped are still true and accurate. Several of those waivers were previously granted. The biggest changes to waivers have to deal with the number of parking spaces, lighting, which I'll always defer to Fran to because I can never figure out how to hit the nail on the head with the lighting anyway, and with signage. The only sign that I had originally questioned was the sign on the southeast facade of the building that's facing the Wawa, because that is above more of a service entry. The applicant did explain that that is really for visibility from the Wawa site as well as from Emmons Drive. On a anecdotal note, I think it does add a splash of color to that wall. So I'm not necessarily opposed to it. In terms of the overall layout, I actually prefer this layout compared to the one that was previously approved. The applicant did provide some information and some testimony about why this layout is a little bit better than the last one. The other one that I would add is that while the drive-through aisle will be closer to Emmons Drive, I think the location of the building blocks the majority of the parking area as well as the remainder of the drive-through aisle as well. So I think in terms of site design, this provides a more linear vehicular pattern Also, I think aesthetically it will provide some additional benefits for buffering the parking lot. Otherwise, I really have no additional questions or comments. I believe they addressed all the items that were in our memo. I do have to cover Mr. Snykes' memo as well after this, but if the board has any questions regarding the planning or zoning analysis, obviously I'd be happy to entertain those.
David, I'm not exactly sure where you are on the sign facing the Wawa.
I'm okay with it.
Okay.
Yes. I made my peace with it.
Thank you. Any questions for David? Okay, Fran, you're up.
Good evening. Francis Guzik, Township Engineer. Prepared a report of October 8th. And as you heard, mostly in Tyler's testimony, most of the issues have been discussed. I take no exception to what I've heard tonight, especially with them agreeing to address any conditions or comments not specifically commented on tonight. Going through the report itself, I don't believe that there are any issues requiring additional testimony. I know one comment, 104 about the DOT access permit. Coincidentally, as I was heading up tonight, I found a package for me from Colliers, which was a copy of the resubmission to DOT. So they are into DOT for the new access permit for this current application. So that's information for the board's use. The other thing tonight was the additional waiver on page 7 regarding the gutter flow on Emmons. I concur that I'm not aware of any existing drainage or icing problems, so I don't have a problem or take exception to them requesting a waiver from that ordinance section. I would note, though, that if any problems do develop as a result of their construction and using that as a construction access, they would be required to repair any such damage that does cause or create a drainage problem in that area.
Okay with that? Understood and accepted, yes.
Okay.
So,
Got that, Jerry?
Okay, I just want to go back to the landscaping.
Yeah, I didn't even get a chance to do that one.
Sorry?
I didn't get a chance to talk about his memo yet.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're not going to talk about it?
Oh, no, I'm going to. I just didn't get
Okay.
the opportunity yet.
David needs a break to switch from planning hat to landscape hat.
Okay.
Throw a foot too for Ed.
So that's really all I had to discuss, unless the board has a specific question for me.
No, Dave, you want to just talk about landscaping really?
Yes, absolutely. I'm also playing landscape architect tonight. Ed Snykes apologizes. He is sick. Hopefully he didn't get me sick from Monday. He had a memo dated October 8th, 2024. The applicant did address the split rail fence design, and we understand that that is a NJDEP requirement. So obviously our request will not supersede NJDEP. Regarding the drive-through area relocation treatment, discussed with Mr. Snykes earlier today, essentially what his request is along Emmons Drive. The applicant did a good job of providing a landscape buffer there, a non-linear kind of curvature, more interesting design. His request, though, was to provide some sort of landscaping between those curves, if that makes sense. So you see to the left and to the right of that larger curve of landscaping, just something, some additional shrubs in that area just to block off the views. Well, I'm sorry?
Evergreen shrubs.
Yes, additional evergreen shrubs. Yeah.
Do that.
Yeah.
If the board makes it a condition to work with your landscape architect, we can do that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it doesn't necessarily need to be connected to that. It could just be a separate island in the middle, obviously, just any type of flexibility there, but just to fill in those patches. The other.
David, wait, could you describe that in a little more detail? Because from what you were describing, and I can hardly see these, I'm not exactly sure where that is.
Okay. So along Emmons Drive, you see the landscape buffer that consists of the shrub plantings. Those are broken up into two main curves as well as some shrubs. Oh, yes, next to the sidewalk. Well, and you see how there's patches of lawn area between the proposed shrubs? He's asking just for additional landscaping of shrubs, evergreen shrubs within those gaps to fill in the blank spaces there.
Okay, great, thank you.
Between the large trees, David, or between?
No, more between the shrub islands, I would call them.
Okay, got it. Here, Jerry. Here.
Yes.
There's a written description.
Oh, okay, good.
Yes. Yeah, additional landscaping between those shrub islands, I'll continue to call them.
Yep, got it.
Item 2 on page 4, as another condition, he's requesting that the areas of irrigation be identified on the plans.
We'll do that.
Okay. And then regarding the westerly wetland naturalized area, he questioned whether or not an access gate is required for that area.
So Lucas.
It's not required, but we're open to providing
Okay.
an access gate.
So we would request that just as a condition in case there needs to be access to there.
And where is that again? Say again.
That is to the, I guess that would be to the north, right? Right next to the wetland area.
There's an orange line that runs along this parking row between the wooded area and the drive aisle of the parking lot. So we will provide some gates. A gate, at least one.
You will need at least some in the area of the existing sewer lateral that runs through there. So
Adjacent to the outfall, so we will propose at least 2, one near the existing sanitary lateral and one near the stormwater outfall. These, FYI, this fence does not close 100%, so it's not an isolated island, but we agree that gates are appropriate.
No fence island. And then, Mr. Snykes' last request was along the frontage of Emmons Drive to make sure that there's a turf strip of minimally 5 feet that's maintained between the fence along the edge of the existing streetscape sidewalk in that area. So just maintaining a 5-foot turf area along the edge of the sidewalk.
We would agree.
Okay. Thank you very much.
In terms of the 2 gates, so one was by the sanitary sewer lateral. What was the other one, Tyler?
There's a stormwater outfall.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Quasi, you're up.
Thank you, Michael. Yeah, this is Quasi Masood, traffic consultant for the township. We issued a letter on October 8, 2024. Pretty much what we raised is we had 3 outstanding comments. The comment number 1 was the sign comment for do not stop signs. Second comment was the ADA. There was a general note missing for ADA accessible parking stalls. And the third comment was the traffic study. There were a few tables missing. To summarize the results, the applicant has addressed all of them. So at this time, we do not have any outstanding comments. They have addressed all the comments satisfactorily. And overall, the traffic wise, like David mentioned, I think it's much more better option compared to the previous one with as far as the traffic circulation and pedestrian circulation is concerned.
You're okay with the flow inside the
Yes.
property and in and out coming off Edmonds Drive?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Yep, thank you.
Anybody? Quasi?
I just have one thing. Francis, maybe you could address this as whether we should pursue this at all. It's your section 2.02. You talk about possibly considering bank parking, and what's everybody's position on that?
Yeah, I took Tyler's testimony that let me just get the numbers out, that their expected average parking, where's my note, is 65 parking spaces And when you take the 79 to be constructed, when you don't count the EV bonus, and you deduct from those 79 the 13 that are shared, you wind up with 66 parking, which are directly to the Chick-fil-A. So to me, that's close enough that they're really meeting their demand without
Right.
being
No
overly
big
their
problem.
own expected demand.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Anybody for any questions? Okay, then, like to hear from the public. Anybody from the public wish to speak on this application and the changes that were spoken to tonight? Please step up to the microphone, state your name and address for the record. You'll be sworn in. Okay. Don't see anybody stepping up. Okay. I'll entertain a motion.
Rob,
No, I'll first make motion to close public comment.
Okay. Entertain a motion to close the public comment.
The motion to go to public hearing.
Second,
second.
okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any debate on the board?
I just have a question.
Again.
A couple of the reports talk about the application as an amended site plan. Francis does not. It doesn't seem to me it's an amended site plan at all. It's a new site plan.
Yeah, I think what's been referred to as an amendix, it serves as one, the purpose of one, but it technically is a new application for preliminary and final major site.
Yeah.
The title of plans were amended preliminary.
We are, yes, it's on us. It's a new application.
Okay. Entertain a motion to open.
In the matter of PV 24-10, I move that the West Windsor Planning Board approve the preliminary and final site plan with waivers and conditions, as noted by council.
Okay,
And if I just may, on the flagpole, the condition obviously is that the applicant's going to work with the staff. If there are complaints by office workers or residents, if they can't resolve that, does it come back to the board? I would think so.
It can't be resolved by us and the staff. We're willing to come back to the board.
Yeah,
For that issue after construction, sure.
Sure, okay.
I think we'll resolve it.
you know, they'll figure something out.
Comment on the application. I think, as has already been mentioned by many of us, I see the site plan as a real improvement for flow and just relationship between the Wawa and this building. Signage, I'm totally okay with the signage changes because this is a unique situation for Chick-fil-A. Coming down Highway 1 southbound, you're not going to see the building because of the foliage and the gas canopy of the Wawa. So I think the additional signage will work well for their needs.
You'll see a 50-foot flag.
Well, the 50-foot flag's on the other side of the building though, but you're right, you will see the flagpole. But and if they have the build out of the greenery along Emmons, it'll shield it even more. So whereas oftentimes signage waivers have always been a concern for our board. I think in this matter, it's justified.
Yeah, and the signage is interior behind the Wawa, so.
Yeah, right.
That's why.
Because of the location of the site.
I'm okay with the size and it's because it's in interior.
Yeah, the signs essentially are proportional to
To
the
the-
walls.
Yeah,
and
the
which
walls,
they are,
the site,
which I
plus
think
it's
is
off
important.
Route 1, it's interior. Okay. I had a motion to approve this application, correct?
Yes.
By
Yes.
Curtis and Rob seconded. Can you please call the roll?
Mr. Rivera,
Yes.
Mr. Chiquetel,
Yes.
Mr. Begg,
Yes.
Councilman Whitfield,
Yes.
Mayor Marate,
Yes.
Vice Chair Hoberman,
Yes.
Chairman Clark.
Yes, motion carries.
Thank you very much
Congratulations.
for the time and patience and allowing us to come back twice. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay.
You're standing like. I'm stretching. I'm stretching between applications, but.
Yeah, well, I can't go. There's an application. I can have a 5-minute recess.
Any, nobody else wants.
5-minute recess.
Put all this stuff behind me. We have the market fair lighting now. Anna.
This is, I don't think so. Yes, Sam. No, have a good night.
I mean, at the end of the year, the zoning makes a report of that. The department put out.
Property, so you have to have a.
Come on, Mike, once wants to mix.
Yeah, so I mean, it's always, it always comes up, like, levels always come up.
I'll give you that.
General development plan. General development plan.
I just make sure that just maybe documents were.
I'll bring it up again. I have to wave their hand.
Well, maybe.
I want the architect.
Have you looked at the?
No, I have, I'll see it when I.
You haven't seen it right here.
No,
I know, just saying, you might be surprised. Maybe they took your.
Light is the key word, Alan.
Never know.
So is there still a intense traffic at Chick-fil-A in,
I mean, I actually just went there maybe a month ago.
The only other Chick-fil-A I noticed, because I do volunteer teaching for the YMCA and Hardin County, is they're doing the lane in the digital station work at that. At the Flemington Circle location. Of Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, I didn't notice any spillover, but I don't like to park on the site, so I park here locally. It's just. In the market, and then
Which is gonna happen at the Wawa. People are gonna
Everybody's
stop at the
reluctant
Wawa.
to change.
Half of the people in the car are gonna wanna go get Chick-fil-A, half of them will wanna get hoagies, so there'll be a lot of pedestrians. Oh, I agree.
My problem.
I stamped. I want to test it out.
Yeah, well, you saw the report after.
Can you look at all this data?
Yeah, you scroll through it, yeah. I do it now, I guess.
Oh,
You know, maybe not like giant things, but documents.
I'm all for picking up materials at the teaching hall. No, I'm all for picking up materials.
Yeah, you are.
I let yourself.
That's why I agree.
I let yourself for the next meeting. Everybody.
Oh, I know, I've got.
So pick it up. It's just.
Like.
Leave it in.
What's in your box?
That's on the desk.
I'm gonna try it out, and if there's, like, if I can't maneuver through it, I'll be picking up. But I'm gonna try.
Oh, okay, yeah, bye. We still have a quarter minute.
Yeah. Look what this guy has to carry, Rob. Look at that, look at that, look at that. Look what you're doing to him. Look what you're doing to him, Rob. Look what you did to him, Rob. It's 0-0 in the Mets game. Nobody missed anything. Mayor has to come back. This is really quick. The mayor disappeared. We need him.
Oh, I thought I brought up a really good issue back.
The executive back.
I thought I brought up a good point about Yeah, where's traffic?
We didn't have Chick-fil-A and Wawa's here.
Exactly. Left in the Emmons.
Exactly.
And then-
You gave us candy.
Hey, when I first started on the planning board, didn't we used to have pizza and water here? When I first started on the thing, was pizza and water here?
Lemons. Before him. Where's that? I can't, Alan, I can't remember. Oh, right. Yeah, he was.
Look at the internal layout. This guy sat there.
You then I'd say take your concerns to yourself.
I've already.
Okay. Okay.
And, you know.
No, wait, sometimes there's resolution between report and meeting. Sometimes. Yeah.
Less detail.
Didn't we used to have pizza?
Even it is Princeton mailing address though.
I know. Think of a different board.
Right.
Okay.
Let's go.
Let's get this show on the road. Let's finish up. Right back. Ron. Okay.
We have.
All right.
Okay, we're back in session. I just want to announce that Rob Lavero has a conflict and will not participate in the next application. Okay, so next application is PB 24-04 Market Fair Site Lighting Upgrades minus site plan with waivers. Block 7.15 lots 14.04 and 14.05. 3535 US Route 1, property zone B2 district, MLUL is 101624. Okay, hi applicant.
Okay, good evening, Tom Letizia, attorney with Troutman Pepper Hamilton Sanders, representing.
And Tom, let me say that proof of publication and service are in order and the board has jurisdiction.
Thank you, Chair. So I'm here representing Teachers Insurance and Annuity Association of America, or better known as Teachers or TIAA. And as you know, Teachers is the owner of the property, which is subject of tonight's application. So this is a minor site plan application for upgrades to lighting in the parking areas of Market Fair on lot 14.04 and the adjacent office building on lot 1403 and block 7.15. We met a total of 3 times with the TRC to refine the lighting design. So we are well aware that the board takes lighting of commercial properties seriously. The Market Fair Retail Center and the office building have shared parking since they were developed as a planned commercial development in the 1980s. The lots are currently under separate ownership. The owner of the office building lot has consented to this application. The property is within the B2 neighborhood center business zoning district. And as you know from recent prior applications, Teachers hired Centennial as the new manager of Market Fair with the objective to elevate the shopping experience for customers. And this application is a continuation of that endeavor. Tenants and their customers have complained about the lighting levels in the parking lots. So TIAA is proposing to upgrade all of the parking lot lighting to LED, which is more energy efficient and controllable. And along with that, we are proposing 6 additional poles with fixtures to be added to illuminate existing dark areas in the parking lot. So we're hopeful the board will agree that the proposed lighting plan is an improvement and that the proposed levels are appropriate and necessary for success of the center. The township ordinance at section 200-31K1 requires an average maximum illumination of 0.5 foot candles throughout parking lots. So we are requesting a waiver from this design standard to provide 2.80 foot candles average as described in our application and will be in our presentation. The second waiver relates to section 200-31D of the ordinance, which requires all non-security lighting to be turned off by 11 p.m. We're requesting a waiver to allow the lighting to be on selectively until 1 a.m. to allow customers and employees of both the movie theaters and the restaurants safe passage through the parking lots when those businesses are open later, which are normally on the weekends. Most of the businesses at the mall close at 8 p.m. So we are proposing to maintain parking lot levels at 2.08 foot candles until 9 p.m. in order to provide a 1 hour time for employees of those businesses to exit. And then at 9 p.m., Market Fair proposes to dim the lighting to an average of 1.29 foot candles. And the lights will have motion detectors that will install on all the fixtures, so they will brighten back up to that 2.8 foot candles if it detects motion in the area. And again, this is between the hours of 9 p.m. and 1 a.m. And at 1 a.m., all lights will be turned off except for security lighting on the building.
So excuse me,
Except for these two waivers, the lights meet all your requirements of the ordinance.
Okay, in terms of the motion detectors, so that'll pick up a person walking, obviously.
Yes.
Okay, so it's just not geared to cars.
Not just for cars, it will also
Okay.
customers walking.
What
You seem perplexed,
Well,
Mr. Hope.
yeah, here's what I'm perplexed about, and it also shows my lack of real knowledge of market fear. So I hope you guys can help me out. Okay, I'm a late night moviegoer, yet I've parked over by in the Barnes and Noble side. Can I traverse through the mall at the end of the picture show to get to my car, or do I have to walk around on the exterior to get there? So the mall will, the pedestrian parts of the mall stay open until the last picture show ends. Okay, thanks.
But you can't.
That was always the case.
No, the
No?
mall is always open. There's no gates in the mall.
Well, I meant like pedestrian. Well, I didn't know if at the AMC end of it, if they were able to cut off access to the
I
rest of the
don't
mall.
think, I've never seen
No,
gates there.
it's not
Okay.
cut off, but
Movie theaters do have gates and they will close the gates. Want me to be sworn in?
Have we sworn everybody in yet?
Yes, exactly. Tom, let's swear in all your witnesses. It's all three folks. Okay, if you could raise your right hand. If you could both raise your right hand. You swear or affirm that testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
I do.
So it's one to affirm. Could you please each state your full name and spell your last name?
My name is Anthony Polino. I'm the general manager of Market Fair. Last name spelled Palino.
My name is Greg Tellison. Last name is spelled Tellason. I am a national account executive for Regency Supply.
Thank you.
Yes, to answer the question regarding the gate at AMC movie theater, there is an interior gate that separates the movie theater from the Market Fair common area, but they close it at the end of their evening. So we do allow it for customers at the end of their last showing to walk through the mall and exit if they did park in a different section.
Okay, thank you.
is the doors by the Barnes and Noble on the outside of those remain open, or can you get out? But once you go out, will you be able to come back in?
So technically, actually, the scenario you mentioned, Barnes and Noble also has gates.
Exactly.
So you would not be able to walk through Barnes and Noble and exit out by
Right.
Tommy's. You would be able to leave the movie theater, go into the mall common area and walk straight where TGI Fridays used to be.
Right.
Or you can make a right and go out where Seasons is currently. Those are the two exits you would be able to walk out after the mall closes. You
Okay.
cannot get back in. We do have mag locks. It is security keyed only.
Understood. Thanks.
Just a couple more comments. We have the opportunity to review Franz Guzik's most recent memo dated October 11th, 2024, and we will agree to comply with all his comments. Just one clarification, Francis stated that, and I think it was in section 1.2, that we were providing a seventh light pole near the Meadow Road access drive. Actually, what we're proposing is relocating a pole in that area, and we will be adding a second head to that light in order to provide more light at the Meadow Road entrance into the mall, which is what Fran asked us to address. We also received the comments by email of your landscape architect from Burgess. I forget his name. Ed, landscape. Yeah, Ed's, I guess. And again, we're willing to work with Ed to address his comments. It had to do with our proposed plantings around the base of the new poles that we're proposing in order to shield those bases from view. And I think he was questioned the number of plantings. We're willing to drop it down if he feels that's required, as well as the spacing. We'll work with enough to satisfy his requests. There were some submission waivers sought, given this is a very minor application. Many of the checklist requirements are not necessary to be met. So I believe Mr. Guzik indicated no objection to those submission waivers. We're happy to go through that with the board, but given the hour, we may elect just to accept Mr. Guzik's recommendation to waive those submission waivers. So with that, we'll give our presentation. We're going to try to be very brief because I think this is pretty straightforward.
Yep.
So I'll have Mr. Tellison provide you first with a little bit about his professional background, and then have him explain the proposed layout.
My name is Greg Tellison. I've been with Regency Supply. It's formerly known as Regency Lighting for the past 40 years. I've been with them for 20 years. I'm a certified lighting professional. So what that means is that I studied lighting, took an exam, and am recognized by my peers in the industry of having experience. I've done several parking lot retrofits all over the country, actually hundreds. And so what we're proposing here, Centennial hired me to improve the lighting because they've received several complaints of dark areas and dark spots. So with the existing lighting and being a retrofit, we did the best that we could. So there are some spots in the parking lot that are a little bit brighter than what we'd like because of the height of the pole at 25 feet. But also we wanted to make sure that we address those dark areas, which is why we added the 6 new poles. When Mr. Guzik, Frank talked to us about Meadow Road, we took that pole that was existing there and moved it and added additional head to it so that way we can bring the lighting to that entrance. Our overall foot candle is 2.8, and as Tom said, that we have added photo cells and motion sensors to each fixture to address the overlighting additionally. And so we were able to dim the fixtures down to 65%. So we reduced the fixtures from 400 watts of the metal halide, which is a technology that's going away rapidly. You can no longer get the ballast for them, and the lamps are going to be obsolete pretty much in the next probably 3 to 5 years. And so we put the motion sensor on there, and we're dimming it down below 200 watts. So now we're saving the mall property even more energy on that.
A1 though, this is the exact same plan that's in your sets. So just where the new lights will be.
Sure, the lights with the circles on them are the new lights. So you'll see them on the bottom portion, bottom left, towards the right, up at the top where AMC is, on both sides. And then the pole that is being moved is over by Meadow Road, all the way over to the left.
So all of the new light poles that you're proposing are located within islands?
Correct.
So I guess the question I have is, and I think this was alluded to in our last application, but.
Yes.
Diane, is why do you have it at 3 foot in height for the foundation coming up 3 feet and then you're attaching it? I can understand that if it were freestanding in a parking lot, you want to do that so that the car is not going to hit it. There's no chance of it, I mean, there may be a chance, but I think it really should be at grade or at least 6 inches above. Grade, I think that's what Alice was alluding to as well.
In terms of height, correct me if I'm wrong, right, it's 25 feet from grade. It's like 25 on top of the.
No, I'm talking about the actual foundation is up 3 foot above grade. It's, for me, from my point of view, it's very unaesthetic in appeal. I think it really is ugly, quite frankly. And I see no reason that it can't be lowered and you just get a larger pole, so.
As Tom alluded to earlier, that's what we were working with the landscape engineer about, being that the poles are going, the concrete bases with the poles on top are going in existing landscape beds. We are going to start the 3 foot concrete base from grade, and then we're going to build up some mulch around the base and then have some shrubbery going around the perimeter of it.
Quite frankly, I don't think that's the correct way to do this. I think it'll be more appropriate to just have it at grade or 6 inches above. I don't think what you're proposing is going to work long-term. Shrubs are gonna die. It's not gonna, you're not gonna have anything that's gonna hide it. So. That's
I guess the question would be, why the 3 foot foundation if it's on an island?
Oh, unfortunately, we did have the experience of a vehicle going onto an island and taking out one of our poles recently, maybe 6 months ago. There was a police report filed.
Our experience, lights within islands are fairly safe. This is not a reason to come up with a concrete obelisk. It's a 3 foot above grade. I think it's wrong. Is it a curved line? Yeah, it's curved.
Yeah.
Well, it's majority view that we should either make it lower, do away with them, or willing to consider them. Again, it was really to protect the lighting because we've had these instances within the park.
Is it required that the height be 25 feet? That's the maximum that's allowed?
Right.
The higher you can go, the more efficient lighting.
Correct.
Okay, so if you had like a concrete base that was 3 feet and then you had a 25 foot pole, would that be 28 feet to the height?
We have 22 foot poles.
22 on a 3 foot base.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah,
so you can't go above 25 feet.
correct.
So 3 feet plus 22.
So basically, you just get a pole that's 25 foot.
Okay,
in
so
height.
if what Alan's proposing is it goes directly in the ground, you need a 25 foot pole.
I just want to point out,
It'll be like.
the bases that we're talking about is just the 6 new lights.
24/6.
We're not talking about all the other
But
poles.
that'll
It's
really.
just those
Just
6.
the new 6,
Yeah.
the 6 new
It's
ones.
just those.
It's just the 6 new ones.
And that'll stand out. I mean, I just.
And will the rest of the poles, the existing poles, those are in concrete bases?
Yeah, 6 inch only from the grid.
Yes.
Correct.
I'm sorry, say again?
They're at curb height. Yeah, they're
They're
at
curved,
grade
they're
level.
not, there's no 6 foot, there's no 3 foot base. Concrete base.
There's no
So
3 foot basis.
if you were to put these 6 new ones in a concrete base, they'd stand out because they'd be different than all the others.
They would stand out in a way, but that's why we're going to try and mimic the current landscape design and bring the same shrubs, bring the same height of the mulch bed. So really above the mulch bed, you may only see a foot of the concrete.
Mhm.
Plus we'll have shrubbery around it to mask it.
Okay,
What are your thoughts, Michael? What are your thoughts on the reaction?
I don't have, I mean, I'll defer to the rest of the board. I don't really have.
I mean, from my planning experience,
Okay,
I've never really seen this kind of a base, other than when it's actually in a parking lot. That's where you need the protection.
oh, right, if it's like, flush to the parking lot between like 4 spaces or
Yeah,
something.
you can see it.
Right on
That
the
I've seen,
right
yeah.
on the asphalt.
Right, right on the asphalt.
So Jerry, am I still sworn in or do you need to swear me in
Yeah.
again?
And you and David, if you both raise your right hand, do you swear or affirm that testimony about to give will be the truth?
I do.
So sworn or affirm.
So the only thing I wanted to add, because this came up during TRC, was what the precedent is along the Route 1 corridor. And I was surprised to find out that the Whole Food Center has 3 foot foundations, both freestanding and in islands. And in Nassau Park, just about all of Nassau Park has the 3 foot concrete. But they're treated as was described by Anthony, where because they are in the landscape islands and they are not right on the curb line, the soil's mounded up, the mulch is mounded up, so that the amount of concrete you actually see is not a full 2.5 foot exposure, but it's only about 12 to 15 inches on.
So the landscape islands are wide enough that you can build up the mulch beds to it?
Yeah, because typically they're 10 foot wide. They're the width of a parking
Okay.
space, so they're 9-10 feet wide, and this foundation sits in the middle, so
Okay.
there's
Yeah,
room
yeah.
to slope the ground.
Because if it was narrow and then all of a sudden you have this 3 foot concrete.
Right,
base, you
right,
can
which
come up-
which is what you do have in Whole Foods, because you do have foundations that are not protected by islands, so you just see the concrete and then a light pole on top of it.
Right, but those are directly on the asphalt.
Yes, correct.
Francis, in terms of the mulch, are there any issues with heavy rains washing out the mulch?
It's no different than a landscape berm. I mean, it's not super steep, it's got a slope to it, but you have all these landscape berms, just like you heard they're going to be putting in for Chick-fil-A. They put in a landscape berm and there's slope to it. And the mulch, as long as it's not too steep, it
So-
binds it to itself.
So because the island's wide enough, it's not that steep, it's kind of like wide?
It's like,
It's a dome, okay.
it's dome. It's not like a ski slope. It's like a dome.
Because I'm picturing the islands that are very narrow between parking spaces. And so in order for you to get a mulch, it would be pretty.
Yeah, they're, like I said, they don't go up the entire 3 feet. If they went up the entire 3 feet, then yes, they would stand
like
out
the
because they
dome
look
effect.
odd. So
The width of the island, I mean, the footing is 2 by 2. So what's the width of the island? I mean,
well, like you can see, they're about the width of a parking stall, so they're about 8-9 feet wide.
They're not gonna rip them up. There's only 6 that he's going in.
Right.
3 feet on each side.
And I'm just putting this out because this was something that I brought during TRC, and just to understand what it was in the area, because I gotta respect what precedent has been set in the rest of the township.
I don't
So-
know, it seems okay to me, only because 2 things. It's prevalent in the area, in other shopping centers, and the island's wide enough to get some kind of dome effect. But I'll leave it up to the rest of the board to,
I think I agree with you.
right? If it was gonna be like this narrow thing that's gonna look like a volcano sticking out of the island, then I would say, I agree, I'd say no. Because that would look silly. And if everybody else had, it differently. So that's just my opinion. I'm just one vote here.
Just to add a little more clarity as well, the length of the island is 2 full-length parking spaces, so that's about 20 feet.
20 feet.
And then you have the width as a full parking space, so at 10 feet, so you can get a decent height around that base without. Right, you get a pretty decent slope, and our landscapers are at the property every week, so if there is any washout from a heavy rain, they clean that up right away. Um,
Can I ask a question? Is this similar to what's gonna be, or the concrete's even more covered?
Probably. My opinion, just more shrubs.
So looks like that much concrete showing, but some shrubs around it.
Is that?
That's correct.
Looks like less than 3.
That's
Looks
less
like-
than 3 feet.
That's like,
But before you saw that, you recollect that.
Places that you have an obelisk.
Like travels to the other side.
I don't think it's the top.
that's what's there.
No, I know.
Ours are maybe a little wider, but yeah, that's a foot above.
No, I
Yeah, above
noticed the
the-
concrete things. I try to avoid hitting them.
Right. So how high?
I don't have a problem with it. It's gonna be a little more covered up than this, you think? Or
Well,
about the same?
that's about a foot and a half. That's probably an accurate depiction.
Yeah, but I think it's gonna be wider. It seems
Yeah,
like,
it will be, they are say about 10 to 20 feet island, okay, it's a big island.
yeah,
Probably
because that island's narrower than,
Yeah, so like you see on the image, it'll be the sides where it's coming from the sides, not
Right.
from the long end where the
It'll be
trees
more-
are, but where
it'll
it's
be more
coming from
spread
the
out.
sides.
Maybe that amount of concrete showing, but more spread out with some shrubs.
So,
I don't have a problem with it.
so just
I don't know.
to
I'll leave it up
clarify,
to you
how many
guys.
shrubs are we talking about? What type of shrubs?
From my understanding, they were evergreen. I forget the exact species. That's probably covered in Ed Snikes's report. They were proposing 8, but in looking at the species and their growing height, when they're in a good environment, they can get 10, 15 feet in size. So I think Ed's comment was that they probably need to work with him to reduce the number going in and adjust the spacing so that there is room for healthy growth where they don't crap.
Yeah, that was so Ed Snikes did review this. He was going to offer comments tonight on this, didn't issue a report. His request was that they were proposing, as you can see from that detail, 8 shrubs around the lighting fixture. His recommendation was actually to reduce that to 6, which kind of sounds antithetical. Why would you want less landscaping terms and not more? The reason being is because these can grow pretty significantly. Yes, yeah. He said in its unpruned form can grow as large as 11 feet. So if you have too many shrubs like that together, they'll grow too large and they're going to start killing each other. You can zoom in right there. It's got the species in the bottom right.
I think it's a Gulf tide.
Gulf tide. Yeah.
So we did get those comments from the landscape engineer. We did make those adjustments. So this is our proposed, and we haven't shown you the adjustments yet, but I do have that if you would like to see it. It is just the 6 instead of the 8.
Okay. And if the board approves this application, obviously one of the conditions could be working with Ed Snikes to make sure that the landscaping is designed properly. But his initial recommendation was reduce the plantings around the light fixtures from 8 to 6. So that way you're not going to be overcrowding the shrubs and killing them and basically getting nothing in return.
It's fine.
I'm just throwing this out there. Can the concrete be wrapped in something or colored concrete to make it more aesthetically pleasing?
Yes, it could be painted.
No, I wouldn't want to paint it
No,
because then you have to maintain it and I don't know if it can be,
Consider
can't
it.
be.
Mixture, right?
We'll see
You may
what,
want to consider it, maybe work with Ed to kind of come up with like a more aesthetically pleasing design.
Yeah, you could probably artificially age it or distress it
Yeah,
once it's in.
Yeah,
Some
good idea.
some dirt.
just a thought. I'm okay with what it looks like, but just a thought.
okay. Thank
Yeah,
you.
the proposed shrubs are.
Gonna cover
will be
it?
dense.
Okay. There you go. You don't have to paint it now, because the shrubs are gonna cover it.
There you go.
Anything else?
The only other thing regarding landscaping that I would offer, and which really Mr. Snikes offers, is that some of the light relocations or additions may require some tree pruning. He would request that that be done by a qualified tree expert.
No problem. We have qualified tree
Perfect.
experts on site at regular times.
I'll leave it to the applicant to get the right person. We wouldn't want someone to trim the tree that wasn't qualified,
Like me.
or me. Okay, okay. Fran, anything?
The only other thing I would add is the testimony you heard regarding the times just be clarified in the notes on the plan, because currently the plan talks about reducing lighting percentages, but they're not really tied to
The foot candles.
foot candles and to the actual hours, like what time of day is this going to happen.
So I heard 65%, but 65%.
All right, so I think 65% would be the normal, and then at 9 PM, they would
Right.
be reduced to the 30, but be on motion detector.
Yeah, we should state the foot candle equivalents and the times that it'll be reduced to, so that it's very clear in detail.
Yeah, the only other thing for Greg, I think the way your plan, well, it came in that the front parking area, the average foot candle was 3.27, not the 2.8. I think the 2.8 was just the marketplace mall.
Yeah, it's the overall mall, but yeah, that front, because of where the fixtures are, it was 3.27.
Right, so there will be even though they talked about the 2.8 in the application, the one section of it would be 3.27, but it is the front parking area, which is the US 1 frontage. So I would be okay with that waiver. So it's probably better that it be two separate waivers. The one marketplace mall parking is 2.8 foot candles, and the front parking area is 3.27 foot candles average. So it's clear and there's not a problem after construction.
Okay. Well, overall, Fran, regarding the lighting, 0.5 is in the ordinance, 2.8 is going to be what they're proposing. Is there any issues over, just a general overview? Makes sense what they're.
Yeah, and it's consistent with other centers have done and are doing. There are some that have requested higher averages and have not been as cooperative and as sensitive to the neighbors as Market Fair has been. I commend them for how much they worked with us. As you heard, they took 3 meetings
Right.
for TRC before they got here, and to come back and say that they'll be at 9 PM down to the reduced average and put on motion center. I mean, that's a lot of expense for them to try to keep the neighbors happy.
Right. The question just in general, maybe not, obviously not for this meeting, but if the ordinance is 0.5, and you heard 2 applications tonight where, 2.8, 3.2, something way above 0.5, maybe 0.5 is not the right ordinance. I don't know, just throwing it out there.
Same thing with signs.
Same thing with signs. Is
Yeah,
everybody-
I guess for the board's information, I've asked the environmental commission when Dan was here about what they thought about this because of the number of waivers that have been granted in the past and whatnot. And with a lot of the research they've done as well, that it appears that the 0.5, when the ordinance was written, I don't know where the template came from because a lot of towns have this standard.
Yes.
Mhm.
When you look at not the ITE, that's transportation, but the Illumination Engineers Society.
IES.
Yeah, IES, that when you go back and read the older literature, they talk about 0.5 as a spot elevation. They don't really give an average, but for some reason, whoever crafted these ordinances took the 0.5 as an average instead of a minimum spot elevation. That it's wound up causing these problems pretty much throughout the state for boards to be in this situation. So probably realistically, like you're seeing tonight, a realistic average is probably 2 to 3, depending on if you're minimum security, average security, high security, it's gonna
Right.
vary.
Yeah,
But
I
yeah, it's
guess, you start out with 0.5, it's easy to grant a waiver to go up or variance to go up, but, if it was at 3, the ordinance was at 3, it's hard to go down if they meet the requirement, right?
correct.
I'd like to echo what Michael has just, his observation on lighting levels, and I've lost count of the number of zoning applications as well as planning applications where waivers have been requested for, foot candle levels, especially around intersections. That's happened on the numerous applications where the applicant at an intersection has asked for a change.
Also,
Yeah,
you have same issue with
I-
signage also, signage letters, okay?
Well, I'm thinking particularly, I'm really focusing on lighting levels and foot candles.
Yeah,
My comment.
Again, I'm not an engineer, but I don't know how many times I've said that tonight. Typically, if you look at a sign regulation and you're requiring a foot long sign, that's a number that we can always hit, right? Or it's an easier number to hit. In terms of foot candles, always seems very hard for me to hit that specific number just due to the variability of sites in general. So if you have a 0.5 standard, if you're 0.4 or 0.6, you're technically not compliant, even though visually that might look very similar. So I always wondered if it made more sense to have ranges instead of specific numbers to hit, but food for thought.
Okay, anything else? Anybody? Okay, at this time, I'd like to open up for the public to step up to microphone and state your name and address for the record. You don't have to move out of the way, don't worry. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Moved by the mayor, second by Alan. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, debate amongst ourselves. Anything? No. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve application PB 24-04. Market Fair site lighting upgrades. Anybody?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Alan to approve
Second.
PB 24-04, second by Alan.
Second,
Please call the roll, please.
Mr. Chippetown,
Yes.
Mr. Begg,
yes.
Councilman Whitfield,
Yes.
Mayor Marate,
Yes.
Vice
Yes.
Chairman Huberman,
Yes.
Chairman Hart.
Yes. And the motions were with any conditions that Jerry
Correct.
has documented. I vote yes and approved. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Maybe closed session, Jerry?
Sam, I do have a question. For the November 6th meeting of the materials that we've received tonight, are there any materials still pending or this is complete? Agenda and staff reports. Okay, okay. Thank you.
Okay,
November 6th, next meeting.
no other meeting adjourned.
Sam,
Thank you.
Sam,
Sam. He's coming around.
Sam Surtees, please report to the office.
Say something that shouldn't be on video.
Look at all the trees that